Did you know that customer retention is 60% of your business after year 2 in a restaurant? Customer retention is undeniably the most crucial aspect of your business as a restaurant, especially if you want to grow and scale. But even if you want to survive, it's a big piece of the puzzle. Any restaurant that's thriving, that's able to open multiple locations, has a high customer retention rate. So big question is, how do you get the high customer retention rate? How do you get guests to keep coming back? And there's a number of strategies and a number of systems that you have to implement in order to truly execute that. Training is a big part of it. And of course, leadership is huge, but strategy is a big piece of the pie. It's a big proponent and it gets ignored a lot. A good strategy can take you a long way. Now, through the customer journey, there's multiple sections of when you can actually help retain the customer, retain the guest in the right way. Let's say a guest sits down and it's their first time dining with us. The strategy needs to be simple, clear cut, but there has to be an execution side of it every time. Big piece of this strategy is passion. We have to have passion behind it. We have to teach our staff to be passionate every single time. Just because they're serving guests over and over again, day in and day out for a living, does not mean they can lack the passion, because when they do, it's all for nothing. When the guest can sense a lack of passion, then you might as well not even be taking these steps of strategy. Just divert directly to service and just make it a business transaction. But if you want to have hospitality, get that high customer retention rate, then there has to be passion behind it. Restaurants do it all the time. It's common practice. It's all about training, systems, leadership, development, all that good stuff. But let's just start with strategy first. We got to have the strategy down before we can have any of that stuff implemented. So when a guest sits down for the first time, it's very crucial that we're always asking them if it's their first time dining with us. This is so important. This is data that we absolutely need. We're collecting data from the guests in order to give them the best experience possible. So if it is their first time dining with us, we have to have a clear-cut system of what we do after that. It's their first time dining with us. We find out that information. Now, the problem is that system that I'm talking about is usually where a lot of restaurants fail. Good amount of restaurants know to ask the guest if it's their first time, but a lot of restaurants fail on what to do afterwards. What do I usually get? I get a spiel about the menu, right? Oh, here's this, I recommend this, here's that, here's that, here's this, here's appetizers, here's what we're famous for. That's fine. I can kind of figure that stuff out on my own. I can figure out what the appetizers are. I can kind of figure out which ones are the most popular items based on their names, but world famous, mom's recipe, etc., etc. What I really want is an experience. What I really want is for you to guide me, is for you to start getting me excited about the experience. You going over the menu does not get me excited about the experience. But if you start talking to me about where the restaurant came from, why it's there, where the recipes came from, why they're special, are the meats grass-fed, are the vegetables organic, right? Is the bolognese sauce cooked over 18 hours? Do you use a special ingredient for that? This pasta made in-house from scratch. Just little things like that, little details like that to get me excited, to really wow me. So you need to walk me through that. Tell me how exciting this is going to be. Tell me about the drink menu, why it's special, what I should order. Guide me through it. Get me excited. Get the taste buds going psychologically in my head. Start adding perceived value in the guest's head. Start adding exclusivity in the guest's head, right? This is a family generational recipe that you can only get here. Well, I can only get it here, right? This bread is made in-house from a 25-year-old, 100-year-old starter. Little things like that will go a long way. So we have to ask the guest if it's their first time, and then we have to guide them to the best experience possible and start upselling everything we can. Now, this doesn't have to be a drawn out, we don't need to have a 5-minute spiel. In fact, I want to stay away from that. I hate when I sit there and it's a long, drawn out thing. 2 minutes, get them excited, be a pro, execute at a high level, and then be on your way. It should take about 2 minutes if you're doing it right, 3 minutes tops, okay? So too busy is not a solution. Too busy is not okay. We don't take that as an excuse. We're executing every single time because we're professionals and we execute everything at a high level. If you're a bartender and you're making a margarita, you can't say it's too busy to get the lime juice and make it without lime. You're gonna make it the right way, you're gonna figure it out. This is part of the process. This is part of the ingredient of guest retention, and it's a big piece of it. So we start with that strategy, and then we create a system. The system has to be implemented. Every server needs to know about it, and they have to be monitored. We have to send in secret shoppers. We have to monitor them ourselves by watching. We have to look for reviews, call guests, do follow-ups, find out if these steps were actually hit, and if they weren't, we need to address them right away. Show the employees that we're serious about this, and we're not just gonna let it fly underneath the radar just because we don't care, just because we think that it's not important, we don't feel like dealing with it that day, or it's not that big of a deal. It is a big deal when a step's missed every single time, because every inconsistency is costing you money. That's a customer retention rate that might have just dropped because of one misstep. And if you take it this serious, then your numbers are going to reflect that. You're going to get serious numbers. You're going to get serious revenues, serious profits. But if you don't take it serious, then you're going to get that attitude in your revenue line as well. So right now, I'd like you to start off with asking the guest if it's their first time. If it is their first time, what are we doing? If it's not their first time, what are we doing? And then we set up that system and make sure it gets followed to the T. And that's where you're going to start with your customer retention rate.